Hi, everybody. I'm back here doing a new podcast because EVO has basically just wrapped up, and I'm here with my friend John McBaugh. So here's Johnny.
So I'm starting now, right?
Yes,
Okay. Okay. At least this didn't go as poorly as last time.
true. But honestly, every time I say here's Johnny, that is your cue to fucking start talking.
Oh, okay. No, it's just like, so how do I make it interesting? Should I be funny or should I just say, like, wait, is this thing working again?
Pretty much.
Fair enough. But no, thanks for having me on here. There is some
Yeah, no
interesting
problem.
stuff that happened at EVO that I know you want to discuss.
Yep. But first, let's kind of discuss Mortal Kombat because I know that you're super excited about that and you've got a video in the works regarding that. So plug away,
Yeah.
Johnny boy.
So yeah, it should be up soon. Hopefully by the time this recording goes up. But no, they at EVO again. They showed off a new trailer for Mortal Kombat 1, and they showed off Reptile as one of the characters, and they've made Reptile a shapeshifter. So sticking in tune with how Mortal Kombat 1 is supposed to be changing things, that's one of them. And I actually think it suits Reptile's style, along with them bringing in more characters from the 6th generation fighting game. So Deadly Alliance, Deception, Armageddon. You have Ashra and Havoc, which their redesigns look freaking awesome.
But, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I haven't been keeping up with the Mortal Kombat side of things, just because I am interested in that game, but it's more of a pick up and play when I know I'm gonna have a lot of friends who will play it with me kind of thing because Mortal Kombat, not exactly my thing.
Well,
and the only characters I really like are Johnny, Sonya, and Cassie, so
which we know Johnny's in there and he's playable. Sonya is just gonna be looks like a cameo fighter.
Which is disappointing, but whatever.
Cassie doesn't exist.
Not yet anyways, giggity.
Giggity, I mean, but again, in terms of Liu Kang's world or that he's made with this, will that ever happen?
I mean, he did try to kill Cassie, so maybe not.
So, I mean, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what's up with that because the story is going to be very intriguing with what they take for MK1. But I'm with you on it. Like, I'm going to play it. I do want to try that beta though, because that's going to be the determining factor for it. But it's not like we were completely against MK. Like, I've played almost all of them myself, but X probably being one of my favorite ones, or my favorite one in this series.
And I've only played X and 11, and I liked X a lot. Didn't really care for 11.
So we'll have to see what they do. I know there were some new previews that went out for MK1 at EVO, and they seem to have tweaked things to make it more akin to like MK9, which was another one that was very highly regarded and well done. So again,
awesome.
I'll need to take a look at that and see what's up with it. But hopefully it'll be good. We'll find out more with MK though in the future. But that's pretty much it for at least MK stuff I've seen. But we'll keep you guys posted.
Yep. And we're going to move on to Tekken 8 now because that is a game we are both excited for.
Which, before we get talking about what they showed off at EVO, did you get a chance to play that second network test?
I did. It was very rough. I was going to do a video on it, but it pissed me off so much that I was like, you know what? I don't need another video on my channel of me bitching about random shit that doesn't ultimately matter in the long term because, yay, cheerful nihilism.
Yeah, you already did that with Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.
But did you test out crossplay?
Yeah, and rough.
Okay.
Very rough.
Because the first one was just locked to PlayStation, which was fine. At least when we each tried it. We didn't get to play together, though. But the netcode seemed to work well.
It worked really well because I was able to play people in Japan and Asia with no delay at all.
At worst case, maybe like a stuck frame or it paused for a second, but that's it. Nothing crazy.
Yeah. Whereas the network test that had crossplay, oh god, it was actually worse than Tekken 7 for me.
Did you see who you were playing with? Because it looked like when you could do it, it did show like, hey, you're playing with an Xbox player, or you're playing with someone like on PC, and it showed some syncing stuff with it. Did you get to see any of that in motion, like with some of the fighters you were going up against?
Yeah, I did, and I was mostly against PC players. I did play some Xbox ones.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation to Xbox, completely fine.
Okay.
PlayStation to PC, that was where the problems happened.
I know PC is a
And
little more rougher though, because that was even stated by Harada-san as well, and even for some of during the Tekken on the Tekken Twitter as well. Like they were pointing out some things you should know with PC.
and I did see that. No, I was just saying though that basically it was like playing a slideshow.
Okay.
And the thing is, yeah, and you know how some people will deliberately use lag to their advantage?
Lag switchers.
Pretty much. I'm pretty sure I experienced that because there was no way that it should be that bad because my internet was completely stable that night.
Well, again, and and this is still under the guise of a closed network test. So if this was final build, this would be really bad.
Oh yeah, and that's why I'm not really complaining too much about it because I know it's a closed beta. I would actually say that was probably an alpha test more than a beta test.
Yeah,
I think we'll probably once it goes to open, that's when we'll consider it a beta test. But yeah, pretty rough.
We'll have to see more because again, this thing's not coming out for a while, so they have plenty of time to work on this stuff. So we'll be keeping an eye on that for sure. But I wanted to touch on that since you had a chance to play it and I didn't, unfortunately. So I wanted to know how.
Hey, at least you got a vacation out of the deal. So
somewhat, yeah. It was worth it though, but I wish I could have tried more of Tekken. But anyway, there will be other chances to test it in the future. It's just a matter of
and we'll actually get room matches. Hopefully
they'll do room matches or like matchmaking with friends, but we'll have to see when that time comes. It's too early to tell.
But we got some new characters. Well, one new character and a trailer for an old favorite.
Which Raven, because Raven's been part of the franchise, right?
Yes, Raven has been.
Yeah.
I've never played him because it was Master Raven in Tekken 7, which is my first Tekken entry, so...
Yeah. I know I've seen Raven around here, because when I was watching it, I'm like, wait, I think he was in Tekken 7 or something. But I wasn't 100% sure.
Before Tekken 7.
So he was... so maybe Tekken 6 or Tekken 5.
Yeah.
As a guess, but again, I'm still trying to get familiar with Tekken myself, so if any of you know, please tell us.
Yep.
But Raven looks interesting, let's be honest. He does. He seems like he's going to be very annoying to fight, though.
He might be, but you could say that about almost any Tekken character at this point in time because it looks like there's going to be so many changes with the heat mechanics. Because Asuka plays entirely differently from how she did in 7, even though she has a lot of her core mechanics from 7 still.
It's just the heat system changes things.
Yeah.
But I feel like the heat system does make things interesting. And with every character trailer that they've shown for it, it makes each character stand out, and it shows why heat is essential to gameplay.
And I also like that if you're in heat and you do one of your moves, it can definitely change the properties of said move. I think that's a great little mechanic, and it kind of works almost like a stance in a way when you think of it like that. Which effectively every Tekken character is now a stance character.
Essentially, and even those that are stance characters now have an additional stance to them, which we're going to get to that one shortly, because that's what I feel is up with the new character. But in terms of like Raven himself, if I remember watching the trailer correctly, it said Raven was a ninjutsu character.
Yes, he is.
Because I saw the hand movements and I'm like, wait, isn't this like a Naruto thing? Or I've seen Mai or Andy do this from King of Fighters. I wonder if they all train under the same umbrella. They're just in different universes.
Probably.
But no, Raven...
I mean, you could even get to Dead or Alive at that point in time.
Which, there's something I want to talk about with that, but we'll get to that later on with this. But no, Raven looks like he could be a fun character to use. I just don't know if he's very pick up and play.
I don't know that either, so if any of you guys are Raven players, please let us know in the comments.
Thank you.
So, I am going to be butchering this new character's name. I will let John try to butcher it instead.
The new character for the game? Azucena?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I believe that's how it's pronounced. Like, if you watch the Tekken trailer, that's how the announcer pronounces it. But it's not just Azucena. It's Azucena from Peru.
Mm-hmm. I love that people are already nicknaming her Coffee Girl.
Since that is her shtick.
Yes.
That is her shtick. Like, go on.
I was gonna make a joke. Well, I guess we know where the Grand Theft Auto hot coffee came from.
Yeah, they went to Peru for it. The one thing I did like with that trailer that none of the other trailers have done is they changed the tune.
I did notice that, but I couldn't quite place it.
Yeah, no, this is it. I wonder if that's gonna be her theme. If that's her
possible,
theme. If so,
it's nice.
It's got a catchy sound to it, and I feel like it fits with, say, the vibe that she gives off. She seems very bubbly, very happy, and just like ready to go.
Yep. And you know me, bubbly tomboys. That is my type, and that is what she effectively is.
But her gameplay style, it seems like she focuses more on like parries and dodges.
It does, but if you notice, she seems to play a lot like Christy from Dead or Alive.
A little bit, yeah, like with Christie's snake stance, because that's what she basically uses in DOA.
Mm-hmm.
But it is an emphasis on just like movement and motion with her, so I wonder if this is their answer to that. But again, we can't say much because she's totally new. This isn't just a reskin or like a character from a previous Tekken game. This is a new character.
And I thought it was interesting that Bandai Namco have really been holding back on the new characters. She is the first one that we've been introduced to that is actually an entirely new character for Tekken 8. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they haven't shown any new characters so late into the marketing cycle of this game? Because while we are a while away from it actually releasing, it's been around for almost a year at this point, Tekken 8.
Almost, yeah, for that point. But this is kind of like what SNK did with KOF. It's like they didn't really show like brand new characters until later on in the roster list when they were doing reveals. So I wonder, it's probably just a marketing thing, like reveal new characters at big events.
Mm-hmm.
So like EVO makes perfect sense to show off Azucena. So who knows, like if they do something for TGS, that could be another opportunity to show a new character, like a brand spanking new character or a fan favorite. But I imagine they're probably going to do something for Tekken World Tour.
When is Tekken World Tour?
I don't know, actually. I haven't been following that much. Tekken World. Did it already happen? Let me just see here.
I don't know, but it's definitely worth checking out. So thanks for looking on the fly, John. That is
January.
greatly appreciated.
January 12th, 2024 is LCQ, and 13th and 14th is the finals.
I am curious, do you think that we'll get a release date for Tekken at the Game Awards or at the Tekken tournament that you just mentioned?
I think before both of those. I'm gonna...
You think Tokyo Game Show?
No, after that, maybe. What I'm going to guess is if Sony decides to hold a new PlayStation event, you could reveal Tekken's release date there.
I kind of get the feeling Sony is going to do that because
they
remember back
Tekken
in May. Yes, but remember how back in May they were saying that showcase was going to be the one that showcases what's coming in 2024 and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
It really didn't do a good job of that.
But I feel like that was more of their indie showcase. Like, I think if they do another one, it's going to be like, okay, here's the big hitters. Here's what you're looking for.
Which they have to do because, let's face it, what big hitters does PlayStation really have after Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine? I can't think of anything. How about you?
There's not much that comes to mind either, unless there's things that, we haven't seen that they don't want to talk about yet. So they probably got some stuff.
I imagine that's probably the case, but it's still like, okay, this is kind of concerning because if you look at what PlayStation had done from 2020 up until now, they were like, this is what is the future of PlayStation. This is what's coming to PS5. Sure, there's going to be a downgraded version for PS4, but the PS5 is the lead development platform. And now it's kind of radio silence. We have no idea what direction PlayStation is really going with PlayStation 5, which could be concerning for some.
Well, and if you compare it to the other stakes as well, or like the other platform holders, so like Nintendo, we know what they got, but Nintendo pretty much does their own thing. But we know what they got coming out this year, and it does look promising, especially Super Mario RPG Remake for me. And Microsoft, like Microsoft's put some of their stuff out there, and honestly, it seems more exciting to have an Xbox than a PlayStation right now.
It does, but I am primarily a PlayStation gamer, and that's where the majority of the games I actually enjoy come from. So
That's that's where I'm different because I own all the platforms. I'll play them on almost any platform I want, but it really depends. But in terms of like first party stuff, like right now Sony, we need to see what they got. They obviously are holding things close to the chest right now, and obviously the other ones are too. But Sony's playing it a little too close compared to Microsoft and Sony. Yep. I mean, and Nintendo.
Yep. That was a fun little side tangent.
Yeah, so we'll go back to at least what we were saying with Tekken. But no, with this new character, like, I think she looks awesome. But there's a reason I want to mention DOA. Because I got vibes of DOA from that trailer.
Shinky was saying that as well, and I didn't get DOA vibes too much. I did notice that she had some similarities to Christy in the fact that she's constantly moving and constantly repositioning, but
it goes beyond that.
Okay, fill me in. Tell me what I missed, because you know me, I'm always looking for similarities to Dead or Alive. And I will say this, Tekken 8 plays a hell of a lot like Dead or Alive 5.
And that's where some of it comes in. Like, even just looking back at stuff from the closed network test, what I'm seeing with Tekken 8, where it's giving me DOA vibes, is just multi-tiered stages, even though we know Tekken's done that before. It just seems more intricate.
Yeah.
In this, kind of like what DOA does with their stages, because the stages seem way more interesting, I find, in Tekken 8 compared to, say, other ones in the past. And then in Azucena's trailer, where she bounced Lily off of like one of the pillars and like one of the skulls, and it exploded. That gave me DOA vibes.
Yeah, I see what you mean now.
Yeah, with that, and it's just kind of like the flow of like how combat was going. It gave me some vibes of DOA, and then here's the how do I put this?
The physics.
Yes, the physics things, because I saw that on Jun.
I had noticed the physics in other trailers.
Yeah,
I just never brought it up because
Yeah, but no, that's a thing. Like
we all know I'm basically the Master Roshi of the fighting game community.
Yes. But yeah, when it comes for Tekken,
wow.
Go on.
I was like, wow, that killed the conversation.
Go disappear. I think I'm done. Goodbye, everybody. But yeah, no, like going back with it, yeah, she looks awesome, and she's gonna be high on my priority list for characters to try next to Jun, because I think she looks insane. Plus, also, there's also one thing we can also do now in this game. You can now do the epic battle of coffee versus tea, and which is better.
That is true. That is true. You can do that with Lily and Azucena.
Yep, since they have like a special introduction.
I also found it super funny that Azucena and Lily play off each other in almost the same manner that Asuka and Lily play off each other, because Lily's the uptight, prissy bitch, and Asuka is the bubbly, high-energy tomboy.
Whereas, like, with Azucena, she's still high energy and bubbly, but she's got a different kind of vibe to her compared to, say, like Asuka.
Yeah, I would say Azucena is more outwardly friendly and not as intense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's just as intense about coffee as Asuka is about laying a beat down. So it's just different tomboy energy.
But we'll have to see how she plays. Because she looks good in the trailer, but I mean, we have to have hands on. That's really going to
I
determine
mean,
from there.
she could be as bad as Rock Howard in most of his outings.
Except apparently KOF 15, but.
Yes.
But other
I think
than
we've kind of I think we've probably exhausted Tekken, unless there's something you want to say about that.
Other thing, like we mentioned the stage in the As You've Seen a trailer, but also the stage is shown in Raven's trailer. Like it looks insane.
It does. I like that they showed us 2 brand new stages. I hope we get a lot of stages because that is one of my big complaints about KOF 15 is we have very few.
But with Naj coming out, we're finally getting a new stage.
Which is great. And she's out tomorrow as of this recording.
Yeah, August 8th, which is soon, which I'm excited to play her. Like, she actually looks a lot more interesting compared to her KOF 14 outing. But I feel like they've given her a unique kind of gameplay system with her that that the other fighter that I haven't seen much from the other fighters.
They have, which is to also apparently balance out her drop kick, which was apparently very toxic in 14.
It was overused. But we'll have to get our hands on Naj and see how she is. But
I'm actually going to be doing a comparison video of Naj versus her 14 and 15 self.
And I'm going to say, spoilers ahead, the 15 version's going to be better.
Probably.
But yeah, we'll find out with Naj when she's out.
Because, as you probably noticed, I trashed Sylvie Paula Paula in my early opinions of her because I had bad experiences with her in 14 and just didn't find her fun to play.
But that kind of changed with 15.
Yeah, I find her fun in 15.
And I feel like that's what 15 has done well, at least for some characters. Like, it's flushed them out a little bit more and made them interesting. Even characters that have just made the jump to 3D, they're still like viable as long as they're not butchered. I'm looking at you, Orochi Chris and Yashiro.
Billy
is another one. But yeah.
Okay, so since we're kind of transitioning to the SNK side of the talk now, which is kind of what the whole point of this video was, do you want to start with Duolong? Do you want to start somewhere else?
Well, no, we'll continue on with how it started. So we started with Naj. We have a release date, which is sooner than we think, which is really nice. And I can't wait to get my hands on Naj and try her out myself. I also want to see more on that new stage as well. But Dulan, so I had the guess you remember before that it was probably going to be Dulan.
Yes, you guessed right, and I'm going to congratulate you on this.
He looks so fucking good.
He does look really good. I think you're probably going to be right on Hinako being the next character, but I really wish it was Melee.
Well, that could be Season 3, if they do a Season 3, which I'm surprised we didn't get an announcement about that.
I think we will get a Season 3, but I think that they're waiting until the last character is revealed. Just because it would mean, like, why stymie the sales of Season 2 when Season 3 just gets announced and there might be a character you like more.
Well, yeah. Maybe, yeah, that's the way to wrap it up. Like, wrap up, because when they did it last year, they showed off Team Samurai, or at least the announcement of Team Samurai, and confirmed that, yeah, hey, Season 2 is coming. Here's a sample of what you're getting.
Yeah.
But there's
Which
something...
worked out great.
It did work out great for them. But there is something with Dulan that they also pointed out on, like, the roadmap. And that is...
the character balances.
Yes, which I think the game desperately needs.
Who do you think is going to get nerfed? That is my first question.
Janet.
Also, I find it kind of... Fuck you.
No, yeah, I know that's what you're gonna say, but you will agree that it kind of needs to happen.
No, I don't.
Yes, it does.
I find her perfectly balanced.
I think she's OP. But
I
then again,
don't
she was
because-
also in Garou.
Mm,
She was OP in Garou. Like, she started fine, they made her better, but the thing is, if your tournament, and this might just be a slam at EVO, but or other game tournaments, but if your team, or if your games consist of mostly like using 1 or 2 or 3 characters in a match, that doesn't make for an interesting match.
which is why I think that SNK needs and EVO needs to introduce draft format in tournaments.
The draft versus mode.
At least, yeah. I think
Yes.
that's the most balanced way you can balance out the competitive scene.
I think, yeah.
And it actually forces players to, interact more with the other characters in the franchise.
Because I will say, at least watching some of that, it was good to see other characters besides a lot of Janets and a lot of Cronins.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was happy to see Iori there. I was happy to see a Luong, or even, like, a Clark. I was happy to see that. We got to see some variety, and instead of how when KOF launched, where it was just Vanessa, Ralph, and Terry.
Yep. I think that Vanessa needs a small buff.
Vanessa could use a buff. I feel like if you're going to talk the nerf list, it's got to be, right now, I say Janet and Cronin. Even though Cronin did get some nerfs, he's still very good.
I think Sylvie needs a small nerf.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. Because I feel like her, her zoning attack, I don't remember the name of it. But where she shoots out the lightning, and it just travels along the ground.
Yeah.
I think that needs a nerf.
In what way?
It comes out too quickly, and it travels along the screen too quickly, for one. And she's also positive in terms of when she releases it, so if she's being pressured, she can just shoot it out and then back away.
Unless that's part of like her game plan for strategy, but that could be something that they could do. I do think, like, in terms of a character that needs a buff, for me, it's Orochi Chris.
Whip also needs more buffing.
Whip needs more. I think Ramon needs more. Billy needs more.
Billy. They should just rename him Brutal Billy at this point.
Well, we'll have to see on that we're going to talk about that later, but because there's something we need to talk about with Billy, I would say, when it comes to that. But for me, if I think characters that need maybe some buffs,
I think Leona, she needs a big buff.
Maybe. I think Darlie needs one. I think all of Team Samurai needs it.
Really? I actually find Nakaruru overpowered.
Well, Nakaru's good, but I mean, I would say focus, like, for me, more Darlie.
See, I don't really play Darlie, so you have more of a insight on that one.
I feel like Darlie, like, but the problem with with the Team Samurai team is, like, if you use their blade, that it's technically, I believe, can still count as a hit. So if you can hit that, it counts as a hit, and it can put you in a bad spot, in general. So, but I understand why. I kind of understand why, but I feel like those should be a little more safe for Team Samurai.
Understandable.
K-Dash, I think he's fine. I think if anything, for me, K-Dash should just be a little bit speedier.
I can see why.
Yeah, but
I think Kyo needs a small buff, I think.
Maybe, but we were seeing Kyo used quite a bit during the tournaments. Same thing with Isla. Isla was a surprise.
I'm not, because the last round of buffing really upped her game.
Like, I know Isla did need some buffs, because she was pretty good, but she wasn't really the best.
Mid-tier.
Yeah. I guess if they buff Isla, they should buff Shun'ei too.
Yeah, because Shun'ei still feels pretty low tier. And he's supposed to be the hero of this particular arc.
Where instead you have, like, K-Dash, who is... I think he's in a good spot. Kyo's almost there, and Ash, like, I did see Ash used in the tournament at EVO, and Ash is fine, but I feel like Ash could use maybe some buffs too.
I agree.
But they need to put, if they're gonna give the past heroes buffs, they need to buff Shun'ei. Shun'ei should be on the same level.
I agree. Also, they should maybe consider buffing Terry again. Not to his original levels, but...
Well, I was gonna say, if you want Terry back to his original levels, give me Ralph back at those same levels.
At which point, just bring Vanessa back up as well.
Yeah, and then we'll just have VRT all over again. Because right now, most teams consist of B. Janet and Cronin.
Interesting.
Yeah, most teams in KO, at least what I was seeing for EVO, was a lot of B. Janets and a lot of Cronins. And then you would see some minor mix-ups, like I said, with Iori, or a Luong, Isla, a Hydern, a Clark, or a Kyo. But Janet and Cronin were the big ones.
As a B. Jenny player, I can tell you that she's actually pretty balanced. I think that she's just used overly so because she is so versatile in what she can do.
Mm-hmm. Like, I love B. Jenny too. She's my favorite in KO.
Because her damage output, not the highest in KOF 15. Her moveset is a mix of positive and negative, so she's balanced from that standpoint. Her super does a lot of damage.
Especially the level 2.
Mm-hmm.
The max super.
And her climax does a lot of damage, but honestly, she's just a very good toolsy character.
But she's also very safe. That's the other thing.
She's not as safe as you think.
That's not what I was seeing. And even when we play some matches, like you and I feel like she's too safe. She's almost like Terry at the start.
I can tell you she's not near as safe as Terry was at the start.
If we're gonna go girl characters, there's one character I know that needs buffs, and it's not Rock.
It's Gato, isn't it?
Yes. Because I'm a Gato guy. Gato's one of my go-tos, and you've seen what I can do with him.
Yes. And if he ever gets buffed, I'm scared.
Which, if they don't do it for him in KOF, if they do it for the new Fatal Fury, if they put Gato in the new Fatal Fury, which I'm pretty sure he's going to be there,
well, if
he needs to be a monster.
If you watch the trailer, you can actually hear Gato's lines, so I'd say he's confirmed.
I think, I thought I heard his lines too. I was wondering, I was maybe getting it confused with Kevin's, but it sounded like it was Gato.
No, I went back and listened to it, definitely Gato.
Okay, so makes me wonder, is Kevin going to make the cut? I would think he will.
I think he's debatable, especially if they bring Blue Mary back, which I think they have to do.
Which, yeah, we'll have to see, but do you want to just talk about that new Fatal Fury?
I want to kind of get into some of the other discussions, like, related to SNK first, and we'll wrap up with that.
Yeah, so, like, the next... Okay, so with Dulan is coming out in autumn, and that character balance patch will be out as well, too. So we'll find out what's going on with that then. But that's pretty much it that they showed for KOF.
And then we'll get the new character in winter, which, safe bet, Hanako.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think after she gets released, we'll see Season 3, because I think they will do a Season 3.
Yeah, either we'll get that, like, I would say Season 3 will probably be revealed, like you said, after Hanako, or to kick off the new year.
Either's a safe bet.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of got some smaller news with when we'll actually see the Samurai Shodown Rollback update.
Which we have a window now of September.
What's your bet, if you're a betting man, on that?
If they want to be crazy, release it the same week as Mortal Kombat 1.
Which is when again?
September 13th?
I was going to say September 15th was when I imagine they would probably do it.
No, hang on. I can get that date. I can get that date. Give me a minute here.
I have 3 dates, though, that I think they might do it on.
Okay.
September 15th?
September 19th.
September 22nd.
September 19th is MK.
That's what I thought. September 22nd or September 29th. I think those are the most likely dates because I feel like if it was going to be early September, they would have just said it already because we're already in the end of the first week of August. So it would have just made sense if it was like first week or so of September, they would have just said it right then and there.
Yep.
I think the last 3 weeks of September are probably the most likely.
I'm gonna say like probably either the same week as MK or the last week of the month.
Either would be good.
Yeah. But if they do put it, I will say if they do put out the rollback update for when Mortal Kombat 1 comes out, that might be a shot in the foot.
I mean, it was a shot in the foot with the crossplay for KOF 15, so I wouldn't be surprised.
But there are still players out there, and like the crossplay thing has actually been working out pretty well. So they know what they're doing.
And yep, they do. And we now have a release date for Global Match KOF 13. I am super excited for that.
It is a week after my birthday.
You're salty about that, aren't you?
I'm not. I had a feeling it would be November. I thought it would have been cool if it was released on my birthday, but a week after, I'll still take it. Because if I remember correctly, when KOF 13 actually originally came out, I know the console version came out in November.
That would make
it. Let me just see.
That would make sense.
Let me just see. Yeah, no. It came out in North America, at least, on November 22nd, 2011. So it's interesting that it's coming out at that time. So
all I know is I'm excited for it, and I'm definitely going to buy it.
Yeah. I'm going to be getting KOF 13 again as well, for sure. Because I like KOF 13. It's a good version of KOF, but it's got limitations.
It does, but I mean, it's a very old game at this point in time.
Like that game is 13 years old.
Yeah,
which
it's kind of cool that it's coming out when it turns 13, basically.
But
it's almost like they planned it.
Almost like they planned it. I'm still hoping like that netcode's gonna be good. Like it did play fine with it. There were some flaws. I found like weird instances of the rollback going insanely high and then back to normal. But hopefully they can balance out some stuff before launch.
I imagine they will, because they probably got Global Mystics or whatever that company's name is.
Nope, they're not working on it.
Really? I'm surprised worked on...
I asked that actually on Twitter, like, is Code Mystics working on this? And they told me no.
Interesting.
So, this is going to be kind of interesting to see how this is going to turn out.
I would really like to see Code Mystics do their own fighting game at some point.
I would like that too. I would like to see that.
I can't believe I said Global Mystics though. My brain went.
I mean, they could go global, right? But yeah, like we know, November 16th. There's one thing I'm hoping for though. I wonder if they're gonna do a physical release for it, like through Pix and Love or Limited Run.
I think they will.
Because if they do one in like a classic Neo Geo shell, I will buy it again. I think that KOF 13 is the game I have rebought the most out of any video game I own.
I would say for me, it would probably be Trails of Cold Steel 1.
Let's see. PS3, Vita, PC, PlayStation 4.
Yeah, and I've got Vita, PlayStation 4, and I bought it for a ton of people.
I'm just talking in terms of like how many versions I own myself. Because For me, it's a tie. For me, it's a tie then between Cold Steel 1 and 2. I have 2 copies of that Vita PS4, plus Crash 1, 2, and 3, then Spyro 1, 2, and 3. Those would be the ones I've rebought the most. For me, like KOF 13 is the highest because I have it PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Steam, GOG, and now this new one for PS4.
Basically, you're just gonna have it on every single fucking system it ever releases on.
At least I can. Like, I may not get the Switch version. I'm probably just gonna get it for PS4.
What, you don't want to play a fighting game while on the shitter?
Well, unless I want to be shitty. Plus, I also don't have Nintendo Switch Online.
Fair enough.
But I still find it interesting that they're only releasing Global Match for PS4 and Switch, and they're not. It doesn't seem like they'll be updating the PC version.
I think they'll update the PC version eventually. I think they're just having a
with it.
Let's release it where we can get the most sales first, kind of thing.
Or do you feel like it might have something to do with piracy?
That's also part of it.
I imagine so, but I would love to see at least the PC version get an upgrade to it. Or if they make it a separate release for PC, give people who own KOF 13 originally a huge discount on it or something.
I agree. So I think that we can now safely move into the main event, so to speak.
Fatal Fury. City of the Wolves.
I like how they kind of combined both titles in that one.
Mm-hmm. It kind of gives me like what Capcom did with Resident Evil 7.
How so?
Because in the rest of the world, it's known as Resident Evil. In Japan, it's known as Biohazard.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so for Resident Evil 7, they called it Resident Evil 7 Biohazard in the world. But for Japan, they called it Biohazard 7 Resident Evil.
Interesting.
So I thought that was a nice little touch.
Definitely.
So, but I do like that name, Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves.
I definitely like the title. I was surprised at how little we actually saw, though.
Yeah, I think that's maybe the most disappointing thing with that, is they did not show a lot. But they gave us at least something to work off of with it. We know an idea, at least visual style that they're going for, and they gave little tidbits of hints, like, for who's going to be on the roster.
Which, by the way, I am super excited by that little teaser of the graphics, because I feel they were very faithful to Garo.
Mm-hmm. It seems...
Because it has that similar color palette to it.
It does. Like, when looking at it, it kind of gives me the vibes of, like, they crossed KOF with Samurai Shodown. But they made it distinct.
Yep.
With that, though, is just... There are differences I've noticed, like, with the tech, though, compared to KOF 15. Like, like, at least Terry and Rock, they seem more expressive. And, like, material-wise, like... It seems like better use of materials than even with hair physics as well. So, you are seeing visual improvements over KOF 15. And it's not going to be a case of... I hate to bring this up, but... I know when KOF 15 was announced, some people were saying, oh, this looks like KOF 14. Be like, are you fucking stupid?
Or blind?
Yeah. Whereas, like, Garo, like, it doesn't just seem like an exact copy of KOF 15, because I know we talked about that, and that's the one thing we didn't want.
Yeah. Which, yeah, our wish came true, thankfully. SNK listened. Maybe not to us, but maybe to some bigger FGC members.
Mm-hmm. But no, visually wise, like, it's got its own style. I think it looks good. It's not gonna push things technically like we're seeing with Tekken or Street Fighter 6. But then again, I don't think it has to. Jiangxi, owe me a Coke.
No. Fuck you.
No, fuck you. Anyway. But no, it's nice that they, like, SNK goes for more artistic stuff. They don't really go for the technical side of things, I've noticed.
Which is something them and Falcom have in common.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? If Falcom was to ever get, like, a Trails versus East game again, I'd want them to just contract to SNK to do it.
Like, make the fighting engine?
Yeah.
That's actually one thing I want to know, like with the tech, because it seems like SNK has become more proficient with Unreal. So I'm wondering if this is
Mhm.
using Unreal Engine 4 or Unreal Engine 5.
I'm gonna guess it's gonna use Unreal Engine 4 again because it doesn't look like a massive step up in terms of fidelity. Well, actual, you know what I mean, sharpness.
Mm-hmm. It could be, but that could be the
Compared,
filter on there.
it could be, but either way, I think that it's probably Unreal Engine 4 because I don't think SNK quite want to get into the weeds of Unreal Engine 5 yet.
Yeah, because I don't know how complex it is. I haven't been following too much on how big of a jump it is from 4 to 5, but we already know
From
SNK's been using Unreal Engine 4 for like their last two titles.
mhm.
So Samurai
from what
Showdown
my
and KO
friends
15.
from what my friends in the industry have told me who have worked with Unreal Engine 5 though, they say it's way easier and you can actually get the same amount of work done way more quickly in it.
So they could be running UE5. We're not 100% sure on that, but
Mhm.
we'll have to see. Like we'll probably find out some more technical aspects later on in the future, because there are other things at least with that reveal that they didn't show or say yet. But I imagine we're gonna find those out closer to launch,
Yep.
which is basically
Which let's get into
platforms.
that next.
Yeah, which is basically platforms. I don't. This is pretty much going to be PlayStation 5 and Series consoles.
I think that's safe to say because I think a PS4 would literally overheat and turn into a massive explosive if it tried to run Fatal Fury City of the Wolves.
It. I bet you it could do it. It would just have to run it at a lower resolution, just like what Strive is
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, probably 480p just to get it to run.
You know what would be a shocker though?
What?
This comes out on Nintendo's next system.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but I imagine it would probably happen at a later date because we don't really have any real idea when that system is going to come out. A lot of rumors have indicated, late 2024. I'm going to go with early to mid 2025 though.
For that one.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would imagine like SNK should put this. They should put Fatal Fury on the next Nintendo system for sure, because
Because it would definitely suit being handheld.
it would definitely suit being handheld. And I think when Samurai Showdown 2019 came out on Switch, it did very well.
Honestly, I've noticed that fighting games are super fun on handheld systems in general if they're actually, you know, got a second joystick.
Mm-hmm. And if they can make it work with the system, which I'm. Side note there for a sec, since we were talking about Mortal Kombat at the start of this, I want to see Mortal Kombat 1 running on the Switch.
That would be funny.
They announced the Switch version of it.
True, but I'm just saying it would be funny to see because when I think Mortal Kombat, I don't think Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. Even though it's been around on Nintendo for a while. But no, I want to
Yeah.
see MK1 running on the Switch and what kind of compromises they have to make in order to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
For their next Nintendo system, I think SNK should put City of the Wolves on it. You probably won't have to do as many compromises as you would for the Switch. Plus,
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be a cool thing to have, like a fighting game for Nintendo's next system, because Nintendo doesn't really have that many.
No, they really don't. Um, let's just get into the next Nintendo system very briefly because we're kind of on the topic already. What do you think the specs are going to be?
Well, if they're going to be partnering with Nvidia again, which I have a feeling they're
Yep.
going to, you're probably looking at a newer version of Tegra of what they're using. So I'm expecting like a significant boost in performance. But the biggest thing is
Mhm.
going to be our battery life and just optimization.
Here's what I'm kind of expecting. I'm expecting 4K resolution docked. I think that has to be included 100%.
Do you think it should? Do you think it will be all native or with the use of like upsampling techniques? Because I feel like it should be both.
I feel like it should be both. I think that for 4K 60, upsampling's fine because let's face it, at that point, you're already sacrificing resolution to get the speed anyways.
For the frame rate, yeah.
Yeah. I think that it needs to be 4K 30 native, though. I don't think you can release a system in this day and age without 4K 30.
So 4K at least for sure docked, and I would say 1080p handheld.
Yep, agreed.
That would be
I also
one.
think I think it'll be 12 gigs of RAM.
That's the biggest hurdle with the Switch right now.
It's 4 gigs.
Yeah, it's not enough. But then again, I don't think there's much RAM in an iPhone either.
No. There's about 4 gigs
6?
in my 13. Yeah, 4 to 6 in my 13 Pro.
Mm-hmm. So RAM's gonna be the biggest thing, and then storage, obviously.
Yep.
But
I think with storage they can get away with SD cards like they've been doing.
no, they can do that. Like, still keep that as an option. But what I'm talking about is base storage on the system. You need something more than 64.
I think that it'll probably be a 120 gigabyte SSD.
Not 128. Go 256 probably.
Either would work, right?
Mm-hmm. I think either would work, but it's just considering how big games are, and if you're going to be pushing 4K on the Switch, if you get 128 gig, like imagine if they put a Zelda game in 4K, that's probably going to be like 70 gigs.
Yeah.
That's not enough.
No, but you have the SD cards for extended storage.
Unless they make speed requirements. Just don't do like what Microsoft does and make it proprietary.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, I still need to clean my PS5 and install my Corsair SSD on that thing.
How big did you get?
2 terabytes.
Yeah, I'm running a 2 terabyte ADATA one, ADATA XPG in mine, and it's working like a charm.
Nice. But I've just been lazy about doing that because I just haven't wanted to take the PS5 out of the wall unit and, disassemble it, because that's going to be a chore. Mostly getting it out of the wall unit, though.
Oh yeah, because of the tight space you have.
Yeah, you've seen it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's our side tangent with that. But we'll probably be talking more about that when Nintendo's ready to talk about something, which we're not going to see for a while. I think if they're going to announce that new system, we're going to see it around E3 time, so maybe June.
Yep, I was just about to say that. So, let's get back to the City of the Wolves.
Yeah.
Woof, woof.
You mean, that's a dog. A wolf does a howl.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to do a howl at almost 3:30 a.m.
Insert sound effect for howling, please. Thank you, editors.
Definitely. So what were we saying before we got on the Switch tangent?
Well, we were talking about platforms. We were talking about platforms on what this should be. And yeah, so I'm saying PS5, Series consoles, PC, obviously.
Yep. I don't think last gen. I think that we are finally out of the last gen. Yeah. And I think that pretty soon they're going to announce discontinuation of production entirely.
So I will
for all of them.
If you are trying to get your hands on like a PlayStation 4 or something new, maybe try and get one as soon as you can.
I would just say buy a PS5 at this point. You can get them readily at Walmart.
Thankfully,
and they're not much more. And they're not much more money now. So I don't see the point in buying previous gen hardware.
Unless you want previous gen hardware.
Why would you though?
Collector's purposes.
Yeah.
I still have my old system. I'm not gonna get rid of mine. But again, we're going off on a side tangent.
Yeah, but honestly, it's only worth it if you're gonna be buying a collector's edition, at which point just keep it in the fucking box.
How will you know if it works?
Collector's purposes.
Again, how will you know if it works if it's still in the box?
I thought the whole point was to keep it as pristine as possible.
Yes. I mean, that's kind of the thing. It's just like, I want to keep it as pristine as possible, but what if I end up wanting to use it? Or what if somebody uses it and then they buy it and then it doesn't work?
They're shit out of luck at that point. They can fuck off.
Remind me not to do business with you then. But yeah, no.
I don't sell used shit.
But anyway, going back with that, so yeah, platforms, yeah, it's safe to say current gen. It makes sense.
Yep.
It makes sense. I just wonder what the PC specs are going to be. I don't think they should be. I don't think they'll be that high, but again, we'll probably find out more closer to launch.
I think they'll be pretty close to KOF 15's minimum, but I think the ideal requirements will be a little bit higher.
That would make sense.
I think that I'm going to get up the minimum requirements for KOF 15 just so that we kind of have an idea.
Yeah, I would say for that, or if anything, maybe closer to what Tekken 8's requirements were for PC.
Yeah.
That would be the other one.
So the minimum requirements for KOF 15, Intel Core i5, 8 gigs of RAM, a GeForce 770 2 gigabytes, or a Radeon R9 280 3 gigabyte.
So, low end, no.
Yeah.
I'd probably say the minimum requirements for it should be what KOF recommended us.
And that is Core i7 16 gig, 1060 6 gigabyte version, or Radeon RX 480 4 gigabyte version.
When it comes to the processor, it says i7. What type of i7?
It just says Intel Core i7.
Okay, so
it doesn't say.
Change the processor to an i5. And that's what I think that's what I'm thinking minimum requirements will be for Fatal Fury.
Yeah, I said what the minimum requirements were already.
No, make it the recommended requirements of KOF 15, but change the i7 to an i5, and then you have your minimum requirements for Fatal Fury.
Yeah. Okay, I get what you were saying, yeah.
That's what I mean.
And I think that probably the recommended will be like an i7, probably 16 gigs, maybe 32, and then probably 20 series cards.
A 20 series card or a 30 series card is what I would say, yeah.
And
then
I
SSD.
thankfully have it.
SSD,
I thankfully have it, which I still need to. I need to get one for my PC at some point. But thankfully, I have a 2080 Super, so I will be fine for a while.
You should be fine for a bit. Knock on wood. Well,
I don't have any wood.
At least for now. Unless you want to get a woody, but then you can do it then. But anyway, I digress.
You read my mind. You read my mind. Anyways,
yeah. Platforms-wise, yeah, that's fine. Release window, I know we've talked about it before. I want to say next year.
I think we're going to see it next year. I think late next year, but we'll see it next year.
I want to say next year. I would hope that they would release it in time for EVO, but if they have to wait, then it's just like, yeah, wait. Make it happen.
When do you think the most likely release window is for it?
June?
You know what? That could work. I was thinking probably September to November was when I was going to guess.
No, I only say June because, like, if they get it out in June, that can have it in time for EVO 2024.
Which would be interesting if they have Sam Show 2018, KOF 15, and City of the Wolves all happening at the same time in EVO.
Because I know Sam Show and Garo were happening, but those were side tournaments held at SNK section. So we'll have to see what's up with that. But no, I want to say June. But if anything, like you said, September to November is the other release windows for that.
The safe bet.
Other thing to talk about is the voices we heard during the start of the trailer.
We definitely heard Billy, Mai, Jenny, and Andy.
Rock's there, Terry's there, Tizok is there for sure, and I want to say Marco Rodriguez is there as well, or Kushnud, which, by the way, they should name him Butt.
Yeah, I hope they name him Butt, because I would get so many jokes out of that. Yes, I'm fucking 4. Sue me.
Okay, fine. Hang on. Let me just call my lawyer. But yeah, no. Butts in there. Kane is in there. At least I heard his voice. The only ones I don't think I heard were Joe's.
I heard Joe.
Okay, I may have missed that then. Joe's, I might have been getting him confused with someone else. Hotaru's voice was in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know you and I were talking about that before. Like, Mai is the new one that we heard in that trailer. We already figured Janet was going to be there, but the third voice you said you thought it would have been Yuri.
Yeah.
No, it could have been Yuri. Like, if they do an Art of Fighting crossover, that would be cool. But I feel like it is Hotaru.
I can tell you, though, Max did do, like, a video on this.
Mm-hmm.
Maximilian Dude, for those that don't know. And he definitely heard Yuri.
Okay.
So I think it's safe to say that she's in.
If Yuri makes the cut, that would be very surprising. Because that's an Art of Fighting character in this game. But then again, we've already seen an Art of Fighting character before in Fatal Fury.
Which character was that?
Ryo. He was a special guest in, I think it was Real Bout. In either Real Bout or Fatal Fury Special. Let me know if I'm wrong on that, chat.
But anyways, Max definitely heard Yuri, and he heard a couple other characters that you mentioned. I can't remember which
T-Zok.
right now because brain... Yeah.
Yeah, T-Zok, I know I heard him for sure. Gato, like you said, you say it's Gato. I might have got it confused with Kevin, but it's probably Gato. Kane is in there. Kane and Terry, they both have in the same location. Rock, of course. It's not gonna be a Fatal Fury game right now without Rock.
But if you want to know when Yuri can kind of be heard, it's when they do the Abandoned Dojo segment.
That's the thing. When I heard the Abandoned Dojo section, I thought it was Hotaru as well. But it could be Yuri as well.
It's exactly line for line one of Yuri's attacks in KOF 15, so
I know there was another female voice in there, I think.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell who that was.
That's why I'm thinking it's Hotaru. Because she was in Garo. They would bring her back for this.
Yeah. Well, Max did say that he heard Hotaru, so I guess she's in.
Yeah. Billy, I think we heard.
Yeah, we definitely heard him very early on. We heard Joe.
Yep. We heard Andy.
Point. Yep.
Yeah. Andy, Mai, and Janet had the same location.
Mm-hmm.
Kane and Terry had the same location, if I remember as well.
Yep. Do you think we're going to see Blue Mary in this game?
Potentially. If Blue Mary's here, I would hope Kevin is here as well, because I know those two are related.
Yep. I really hope that Blue Mary is in it, because I love playing as Blue Mary, plus we all know how much I like the design she got for the ending of Terry Bogard's storyline in Garo Mark of the Wolves.
Yeah, I think that needs to be shown. It would be interesting to see an older version of her. But one thing with the roster, though, is I want everybody from Garo.
Me too.
So I want Kim's sons. I would also love to see Kim return as well into this. Like, if you have Mai, you have Andy, you have Joe, you have Billy, why not Kim?
Agreed.
But it's also they need to put in the new character. There has to be at least new characters.
There does, yep.
Maybe
how many characters do you think we'll wind up getting?
I want to say 20.
That's what I was just about to say. 20 to 22.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the sweet spot.
I want to say at least that. If you include everybody from Garo, that's like 11. I'm not counting Grant.
I don't think we'll see Grant anyways.
I think Grant's out, and I don't know if Freeman's going to be back.
I think Freeman will be back because he's a charge character, and we have precious few of those in the roster at this point, so there needs to be a charge character beyond Kane.
Yeah, so in the case of like everyone from Garo, so at least 11 fighters, all like the 11 fighters, with like I said, with the exception of Grant, need to return. And then also like some of the other characters that they had designs for Garo too, I think it's time to bring those in.
Who are some of the characters they had designs for? Because you are a little bit more knowledgeable on that, so I will let you
I've
take
seen the
wheel.
document for it. I don't know the names off the top of my head, but you can find a picture of it.
Okay.
But they had some new designs. Like, if I remember correctly, there was at least 6 or 7 new fighters that they would have introduced originally into Garo 2. So I think it's time to bring those back, or at least do a kind of an interesting, different design for them.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
So I think that needs to happen. I would love to see those realized, but it can't just be like all old characters, because that
How many
would make
new
the
characters
roster
do you think we need?
At least 5.
I think 4.
You'd say 4?
Yeah, because let's face it, at this point in time, City of the Wolves is going to wrap up the cliffhanger that Garo established.
Mm-hmm.
And there was already a time gap between the previous Fatal Fury game and Garo. Mm-hmm. So I think that focusing more heavily on the older fighters is what needs to happen if they're going to focus on wrapping up the storyline.
Like, they still need to do that. Yeah, like, bring in everybody. If this is going to be, like, the last hurrah, like, if this is the last hurrah for Fatal Fury, then it makes sense to bring in, like, a bunch of older characters as well. But you got to at least introduce some new ones, because there has to be some kind of legacy there.
See, I don't think it's going to be the final hurrah for Fatal Fury. I think that it's a case of they need to wrap it up. And if you look at what they said when the game was initially announced last year, they said it's going to be establishing new grounds for Fatal Fury in the future.
Mm-hmm. So it could be the end for these characters, but then it can be a reset with new ones.
Yeah, and I don't think that all of the old characters will have like a final hurrah. I think they'll still be around.
Mm-hmm.
They just won't be the main focus anymore.
So, like, for example, you could say they make a new Fatal Fury, but Terry's not in it.
Yeah, they could have Andy in it, because younger, plus the ninja training. They could do some stuff with that. Also, let's face it, MILF Mai would sell.
Well, I remember the thing with KOF 12, no Mai, no buy.
Yep.
So that was a thing.
And let's face it, if they do MILF Mai, they have a whole new line of merchandise that they can focus on.
I already know you would be in for merchandise if they MILF Blue Mary.
Yes.
Why did I even have to ask that? But no,
exactly.
Going back to it, yeah, like it's gonna be cool to see like older versions of these characters, of like the classic characters from Fatal Fury, but they also need to bring back, I think, pretty much everybody from Garo and new characters as well, like at least for this installment. So if anything, like we were saying, 20 plus needs to be the roster.
How many DLC characters do you think we will get? Since they'll probably do at least one season.
6.
6 to 8, I think.
Yeah. Because you know they're going to do at least a year pass or a 2-year passes for this game.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I feel like a final roster size of around 32, pretty awesome. Because this game doesn't have to be like King of Fighters. It doesn't have to be the big one. And it doesn't need to be so tiny and focused like Samurai Shodown. It can be kind of a middle ground.
Mm-hmm. Like, I don't mind the focus designs like they did with Samurai Shodown, or even what Capcom did with Street Fighter 6, because I feel like actually that was a good balance with like old and new, even though like there were still some characters I would have loved to see make the cut, but I feel like Street Fighter 6 did a good balance with it. Same thing with Samurai Shodown 2019.
I feel like Samurai Shodown did a good balance. I think that Street Fighter 6 needed to have a much bigger roster, but that's just because I couldn't find a character I jived with, and that's part of why I don't like that game so much.
Well, let's see what they do with with City of the Wolves. It's too early to tell right now, but at least we have things to work off of with it. Like, we have a distinct look. We have what the game's going to look like.
Yep. I think that we should discuss the game mechanically now.
Which, again, we don't know much on that, but at least as baseline, bring back everything from Gauro. So the Just Defense system, the top system, needs to return. Yep. I do think this game should have EX moves.
I agree. I agree with everything you just said. I was actually going to ask, do you think the top system is going to return?
Yes, I think it has to. I think the top system has to return.
Because that's what gave Gauro its identity, let's be honest.
At least for that. But if they want to go crazy with this, bring back the line system.
That could actually be kind of fun. And they could actually probably do it properly now.
Like, they could do a line system for this, because that would make it harken back to older Fatal Fury games. Because Gauro is the, I think,
culmination
of that. But Gauro got rid of the line system and just made it a pure 1v1 system.
It had been eliminated before Gauro, but Gauro is considered the culmination of Fatal Fury to that point in time.
So, I think that could be a nice nod. Even if they don't make it, like, main gameplay, I feel like that should be a mode.
Definitely, and as a mode, that would actually be fun as hell as a way to freshen up the gameplay, especially in online modes against friends.
But if there's... this might be a controversial opinion. I don't want max mode.
Go on. Yeah, I don't want max mode either.
I don't think max mode needs to be in Gauro, because that doesn't make it... That doesn't make it a Fatal Fury game anymore. You're basically making a King of Fighters game at that point.
And a very stripped down one.
So, max mode needs to go. But in terms of how the super meter works, it should work exactly like how the Fatal Fury series is known for. That needs to stay the same. So, S power and P power.
Agreed. And I think that, as you said, Just Defend, that needs to return because that was kind of Gauro's identity as well.
So,
I think they could really iterate on that now. As well.
You could retime things, so, like, I think the only other weird thing you could do with, like, Just Defend is maybe introduce it where it, like, gives you much... Like, I know it's supposed to give you higher priority, like, if you Just Defend quickly, but maybe make it make that even more quicker, or make it like a parry system of sorts.
That's what I was just about to say. Use it as a parry system, and I think that you've really got something interesting there. What do you think the game's overall speed is going to be like? I think we're going to have something way faster than King of Fighters 15.
It might be that. I personally don't want that.
I'm just going off something I noticed in the trailer, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I noticed that Rock's projectile and Terry's projectile were much quicker in their startup and their release than they were in King of Fighters 15.
It did seem a little bit quicker in terms of animations. For sure. I don't know if that'll translate over to gameplay, because I think the thing that made those games stand out was it was a little more methodical. It wasn't as slow as Art of Fighting.
No,
but it wasn't as fast as King of Fighters.
I guess what I was saying is I feel like moves are going to feel snappy more than the actual pace of play, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Like, the moves might feel snappy and stuff, but in terms of like how the flow of combat is and everything, I feel like it should be scaled back a bit.
Yep, I agree with that as well. But what's a new mechanic you'd like to see in City of the Wolves or something similar?
Like I said, the biggest thing I think that should be introduced is an EX system.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the EX system, but make it have like a separate kind of meter of sorts. Like, don't have it interfere with S power and P power. Maybe make it its own separate thing.
One thing I
just thought of a different idea for it.
Okay.
You remember, I think, with your top system,
Yep.
Because if you use top system, you have access to a unique CD move.
Yep.
What if you had the ability to change your properties of how top works?
That would be really interesting.
So either make it do a CD move, or give it, when you're in top mode, you can use EX moves.
That would be really interesting. What I would like to see is maybe have very specific moves that you can only do after pulling off a just defend. They'd be niche, but you could get some really powerful combos or something interesting to that effect.
Mm-hmm. That could be something that you could do with just defend.
Because I think that would really work out well with the pace of play that's established in the Fatal Fury games.
So, like,
because
you pull off
slower.
a just defend and then just pull off, like, let's say, a Shingo critical attack or something.
Yeah.
That could be an idea.
Or you get, like, a very small super move that doesn't do, like, a ton of HP, but it looks super flashy out of the just defend. You know what I mean?
I feel like that should be something tweaked, like Shatter Strike. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's one mechanic I like from KOF that I haven't seen used a lot.
I really like the Shatter Strike because it really punishes overly defensive players.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good at pulling them off, but I like it.
I feel like maybe incorporate something like Shatter Strike. That could be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say, if you do a just defend, and then if you, say, do, like, both heavies, a heavy punch and heavy kick, or, like, do something like that, it could pull off something akin to, like, a Shatter Strike.
Yep.
It would be hard to time, but, I mean, that could be something.
And it would be super fun to actually pull off.
It'll make you want to take that risk.
Mm-hmm. Also, one thing that I would just like, because I like it in Killer Instinct, something similar to Ultra combos.
Oh, just like insane chains.
Yeah.
I could see that. Which...
But, like, only at the end of the match when you've already, like, won.
Mm-hmm.
Just as a way to humiliate your opponent.
If you want to do that, but that could be something for sure.
So is there anything else you kind of want to mention about the EVO news that we've had recently, John?
Well, you just talked about one thing that we need to bring up. KI.
Okay. Yep.
Did you heard about the announcement for KI?
I did. And I think there's something more to it than meets the eye there.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had the announcement of, like, the re-releases of older KI games that are coming out in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
That was a while ago. And now we've got this seemingly out of nowhere update for Killer Instinct 2013. Yeah, I think Microsoft's got something they want to share with the class, but aren't ready to spill yet.
So I figured there's something coming for KI in the future as well, but it's nice to at least see Microsoft acknowledge KI still after all these years, and it'd be fun to go back and take a look at it again, especially with the new balance updates and what they're going to be doing for the series consoles. But that's not happening until the fall, I believe.
Well, that's not too long from now, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, it's just like a few months. But I know KI is not one I've played a lot of, but I wouldn't mind trying it.
Let's put it this way.
Again.
Let's put it this way. If I'd been introduced to KI when I was first getting into fighting games, yeah, I would have gotten into fighting games way sooner.
Although I think a crazy ploy would be, like, if they make a new KI, Rare should get their hands back on it.
I would like to see what Iron Galaxies could do if they were given complete full reign to build their own KI.
That would be interesting to see, because I know Iron Galaxy worked on it since Season 2?
Let me look that up. You can babble away, John.
Yeah, like since Season 2 or Season 3. But we know, at least with the new updates coming for KI, that Iron Galaxy is back at the helm for it. So that's going to be interesting to see. But I would say if there is a new KI in development, I know I've heard there's been rumors of, like, maybe a Japanese studio that could be working on it, which would be interesting to see. But if Microsoft could give it back to Rare, I think that would actually be pretty cool because Rare made KI.
Mm-hmm.
They are the OGs.
Yeah, you were right. Season 2 and 3, they did.
Okay, so Season 2 and 3 was them.
Yeah.
So it's neat to see them back in the saddle again. So I'm curious to see what balance updates they do. But
Same.
Iron Galaxy would definitely be a good fit for if they want to be up to the task of making a new KI. I think it would be crazy, but awesome to see Rare go back and make a new KI, like what modern Rare would do. But even like we said, the other rumor was a Japanese studio working on it. But who knows?
Either way, that would be really interesting. It's a really exciting time to be a fighting game community member, and it's a really fun time to be into RPGs as a whole, wouldn't you say, John?
I would say so too. There's too many things to play, though.
Yep.
And not enough time.
It's funny how it was the reverse problem when we were younger, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Not enough games coming out, and now it's like, okay, what the fuck, gaming developers? Where were you when we were in our teens?
Well, the other thing is that like we are also like older, and time is not on our side.
No, but I was more getting at the fact that look at the mid 2000s. Kind of a crappy time to be a gamer.
Nah, no, there was definitely some good stuff. I don't know what you're talking about.
There was some okay stuff, but I mean that, like, late PS2 cycle, I found myself being like, you know what? I'm just gonna do something else.
I was pretty much mostly moved on to like PlayStation 3 or 360 at that point.
Well, I was saving up for a PS3 at that point in time, but I was like, you know, the last 3 years of the PS2's life cycle, I was like, there aren't any games beyond a few weird sports games that I'm actually into right now.
Mm-hmm. No, there's definitely some stuff. I think that's maybe a conversation to have for another day, is to look at what was released between 2000 and 2009.
Yeah, and then compare it to the last couple years.
Or like, yeah, just look at what happened during that decade and then go from there. But maybe we'll save that for another conversation.
We definitely should, and we should also probably come up with some other things that we want to discuss in future podcasts.
Exactly. But maybe we'll just wrap it up here, at least for tonight.
That was what I was just about to say, because I was wrapping up before we got into the small Killer Instinct tangent. So, where can people find you, John?
Well, I mean, if you want to stalk me, there is the Twitter, or no, wait, it's called X now. What the hell am I talking about? It's still Twitter to me, and you can't change my mind about that. Yep. So, Twitter, you can still find me there on Twitter. I also have a Twitch where I stream whenever I can, and I also have a YouTube account and a TikTok. So, all under the name John McBon or McBon John, but you will find that below, at least in the description box, I believe. So, if you like to swing by, if you like to swing by, I'd love to have you there. Your support means a lot, and hopefully I can keep you entertained with that. But Leafer, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And I find it super funny that one of my first videos on this channel was me interviewing you about EVO 2022, and a year later, basically, we are now discussing more SNK stuff. It's kind of funny.
And I don't think that's going to be going away for a while. Like, if SNK is, like, you know, we're going to be working on new stuff, I think we'll be talking about that for a bit. Please, give me a new Metal Slug.
Probably until we're geriatrics, right?
Maybe.
That would be funny once we become really old men discussing video games, a very senile podcast.
I'd be like, oh, gaming in the day, it ain't what you youngins call it now. That's when games were games, not this shit that's out now.
Anyways, thanks for being on, John, and I cannot wait to discuss more with you in the future. I hope you guys will check out more of my videos. 2 of them will be popping up now, and until next time, keep blazing that trail.